there folks, this is Josh, Stony Ridge Farmer. Welcome back to the farm. Today is the day where we take our meat birds and we put them in the freezer. So it's chicken processing day here on the farm. So these are our pastured meat birds. These are Cornish cross meat birds from Meyer Hatchery. We get all of our chickens from Meyer Hatchery. Big shout out, kudos to those guys. They have great birds, they have great genetics and great health. We've had awesome success with those birds. This is our outdoor chicken processing setup, and today we'll take you around. We'll show you exactly what we do to process our meat birds. We got a pretty cool setup. We've learned year after year how to do this, and this is how we feed our family here on the farm. So come along as we learn how to process chickens. All right? First of all, guys, let me congratulate you for being in the top 0.1% of the world that wants to raise their own food, that wants to take responsibility for the things that they eat. That's what this is all about. It's about food responsibility. It's about understanding the value of life and the value of food, not just the cost of food. These meat birds are not $6.99 Walmart rotisserie chickens. These are meat birds that we respect and that we raised here on our farm for our family. And this is a very special thing for us to share with you here on the farm. So if you like this kind of content, please don't forget, pound that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of stuff. We've got awesome rural content here on the Stony Ridge farm. Now, as you may well know, chickens walk around. These chickens will be walking around and then they'll be in the freezer. So today's video is all about taking food from the pasture to the freezer. It's food for our family. These are the hugging cones slash killing cones. Right here is a scalding pot. We have a plucker. We have Dad over here, and he is in the gutting station, and we have a 3-bay stainless steel sink right here and a tent set up. It's raining out here just a little bit. It's misting rain. It's a beautiful day here on the farm. Every day is beautiful here on the farm. So let's get you a little close up. We'll walk you around everything. There will be a little bit of blood here because these are animals. This is meat. This is how it's processed. This is a butchering video. So what we have here are killing cones or hugging cones. We basically take the live chicken, you set it down in this cone, you pull the head out right here, and we take a knife and we cut the head off. Then we take our chickens, our whole chickens, and we put 2 each in the scalders here. And we'll get you close-ups of all this in just a minute. So we'll leave them down in the scalder, and the scalder temperature now is about 152 degrees. It's a little bit on the hot side. If you get it to 155, you're going to be cooking chicken instead of scalding chicken. So you want to be between 145 and 150 degrees. This is just a fire poker, and basically we're just holding the chickens down underwater with the fire poker. Now, how long do you keep them in here? Yeah, 45 seconds or so. The biggest telltale thing is when you pull the chicken up and you grab his toes, the skin needs to come off of the toes. And the skin's coming off of this one's toes already, so we're in good shape there. We're gonna bend over here and we're gonna turn on our plucker. Here's our plucker. Okay, and we have an extension cord ran out from our shop. We have it supported up here so we're out of the water because there's a lot of water and stuff going on around here. This is a GFI protected outlet. This is how we do it. This is not an instructional video on how to do it USDA inspected. You can do it your own way, but this is how we do it, and we try to be safe. So we'll pull our chicken out, take our fire poker, we get a hold of a chicken foot. Woohoo! That chicken's foot's hot. We'll toss him gently over into the plucker. We'll put 2 chickens in the plucker at a time. Now we'll give you some details on the plucker and how it all works. The next thing we got to do is we got to run water in the plucker, and we have a water hose right here. The whole time these birds are in the plucker, we need to be rinsing feathers down, and I'll show you why here in just a second. It normally takes somewhere between 45 seconds to a minute to fully pluck a bird. Okay, we turn off our plucker and our chickens are skinned, clean, and beautiful. Well, they're not skinned. The skin's still on here, but you can see the feet are clean and most of the feathers are gone. There may be a few feathers here, like here on the wing, and we'll just pick those out. We have a pinning knife to pick those out with, and we'll set these over here for Dad to work on processing. I'm gonna show you, give you a little detail about the plucker, how it works, and where the feathers go. This is the Right Farm Products Pro Plucker. Inside the Pro Plucker are these little rubber fingers, and these rubber fingers are not rough on the bird. Even though it looks like a violent process, this thing spins underneath here and it just bounces the bird around and slowly pulls the feathers out. Very, very cool. The feathers fall down in the outside edge right here, and they come out this chute, and we go into a bin here, and we'll compost all these feathers. Nothing goes to waste here on the farm. Here's how the scalder works. Basically, you hook to a propane tank over here. This is the scalder setup. This is the igniter. You turn it, fires up your scalder. Probably want to turn it down just about to the lowest setting you can. It's a little bit windy out here today, and this looks kind of gross, but all it does is scald the birds. We'll clean this out really good, and we'll use it for shrinking our bags. You'll see how clean it gets. Let's show you what the scalder looks like inside before we put water in it. So there's a lid, and it has a hole in the lid for the thermometer, and down inside here, this is really important, there is a wire grate. What that does is it keeps the bird from getting down on the bottom of the scalding pot and burning to the pot. That's important. So we got ahead of Dad over here a little bit, but Dad's working on separating everything out, and we have the 3-bay sink over here. And you can find this stuff, if you look on Craigslist, you can find this kind of stuff. This is a stainless steel prep table that we found from our used restaurant supply place. And this is the 3-bay sink. So we have 3 bays. One is to pre-cool the chickens. The next one is to pre-cool the chickens, and the next one has ice in it, a big old chunk of ice, and we'll cool the chickens off nearly to, I guess, freezer ready. In other words, the chickens will probably be at about 40 degrees before we put them in the freezer. Now, what you need to know is when you put 50 chickens in a freezer, it's going to take 2 days to freeze all those chickens unless you have some kind of super duper crazy Mac Daddy freezer. So know that, because all the rest of the food in your freezer is going to try to thaw out. That's a lot of meat, that's a lot of mass to put in your freezer. It's like 400 or 500 pounds of food. We're going to get you a little bit of detail on this table. We're going to show you just how we separate everything and just how easy it is to remove the intestines from the bird, how quick and easy we can process 50 birds in about 2 hours and 20 minutes here. That's awesome. So let's talk about ergonomics also. I'm going to take the camera off. We'll walk you over here and talk a little bit about ergonomics. So we rigged up some zip ties up here in the top of our tent so that we could hand the water hose back and forth, and we need to have good running water all the time in case we're working with our birds here and we have a little bit of manure or we bust a gallbladder. Now, when we're harvesting our liver, we have to be really careful not to bust the gallbladder, and if we do, we got to get on the rinsing really, really quickly. So this is between me with the scalder, which is gone now, and the plucker, which I'm getting ready to rinse off, and I'm getting ready to clean everything else up while we're finishing up processing the birds here. Ergonomics. Now, when we get ready to bag our birds up, we want to move our scalder pot over here, which is going to be our pot of hot water for dipping our bags in. We want to move it over closer to our birds. So we got cool, colder, and coldest. Dip and freezer. All right, guys, rinsing off here, rinsing my hands. I can't tell you how important it is to have easy, quick access to good cold water to keep things rinsed. Now, our table is on a slight incline so that everything washes down the hill and it washes down into the yard, so that water gets used again here in the grass, and all the nutrients that flow off of here, and there will be nutrients that are inside these birds, will also go right back to the land. So it's kind of cool. Even the blood that comes out of these birds has nutrients. Now, we shouldn't see a lot of blood here because the blood basically drains out of the chickens from the killing cones over here. So let's take a bird and we'll go from head to toe and show you exactly what we do to prepare it for the freezer bags. We're going to take the foot, we'll bend at that knuckle right there at the leg, cut that foot off. Very simple. Put it in the foot bucket right over here, and we have basically some pots. I'll show you when we get done. We'll put that over there. We'll take the wing tips. Very simple, very easy, and we'll put those in there with the feet also for making stock. Very, very simple. You want to have a good sharp knife. This is a Dexter brand knife. I love Dexter brand knives. Again, you want to get right in here. This is the craw area. A nice small slit. You want to tear in right here. You want to get that esophagus. That's what our goal is right here. And we haven't fed our chickens for about 24 hours before slaughter. The reason we didn't do that is because we don't want to deal with a high manure load. This is the first part of the digestive tract of this chicken right here, and out comes the esophagus. We just pull. Right there it is. Throw that in the gut bucket. Now, we're gonna gut the chicken. Basically, you take your knife, pinch up right here, cut a tiny slit, then take your thumb, press in there, okay? You don't want to cut into the intestinal tract if you can help it. You want to press in there. You want to tear, whoop, just tear open. Tear it open, reach in. You want to get the heart, the lungs, the gizzard, the liver, everything. Pull it all out, right out the rear of the bird. And that esophagus pulls right through. Right there is the esophagus. Pull it right through. We got kidneys, testicles, all sorts of stuff. This is the testicle of this bird, so it was a male bird. Now, we want to go right down in here, and we want to cut right around the rectal organs. This totally saves you from any sort of fecal contamination with your birds. If your birds don't have any manure in them, then you don't have to worry about manure getting on your food. This bird is ready to go in a freezer bag. Now, we'll put him over here in our sink. We'll take our intestinal innards and we'll work with those. So we've got a gallbladder right here. This is our gallbladder. We don't want to bust that gallbladder. We want to be careful. We can gently cut around it, or we can pull apart around it. We want to get our liver away from our gallbladder, just like so, without busting the gallbladder. There's our liver. Put it in the liver bucket. Here's our heart. Put our heart in. We put it with our gizzards. And we're going to separate the gizzard from the rest of the chicken, just like so. Boom, gizzards. This is the intestines. If we had hogs, we'd feed the intestines to the hogs, but we don't have hogs, so we'll dispose of those here on the farm. Awesome. That's how you do a chicken. We're just going to wrap things up here, and we'll see you at the bagging station next. Okay, so here are the bags that we're going to use, and you can buy these at Meyer Hatchery. This is a 50 count bag of them, and they look just like this. You can also get them at Coops and More. Both bags are basically exactly the same. They shrink up. In other words, when you put them in warm water, the bags will shrink up around the birds, and you basically zip tie around. Now, there are a couple different methods, but I found the best method is just dip them down in there, and we'll take a wooden spoon, push it down in the water. The water temperature needs to be about 180 degrees, something like that. We'll push it right down in the water. Good to go. Bring them back up, twist it up, zip tie it, and it's ready for the freezer. There's another method you can use with a straw, and that helps to push the air out. I find that just pushing it down in, squeezing them tight, that pretty much solves any problem. We don't have any trouble with freezer burn, and we have a frost-free freezer, which is something I do not recommend, but it works. Check it out. So here's our bird. Here comes our bag. We're going to lay our bird down in our bag head first. This is a big bird right here. There we go. We want to get that head down into a corner if we possibly can. We want to hold this, but we don't want to hold it too tight. We want to set him down in the warm water, and I've got a wooden spoon right here. I'll press the bird all the way down. Basically, we're just trying to get the entire bag warm. Well, we'll count to about 5 or so, 5 or 10. Get that bag nice and warm, and what it's doing is heating it up. And when we lift it out, the bag will draw up around the bird, and you can see it's drawn up pretty tight. We'll give it a good squeeze, try to burp out as much air as we possibly can. This is a really, really tough bag. We'll give it a twist, just like so. And then Dad will come in with a zip tie. We'll zip tie it up. Now, you could use baling twine or whatever you wanted to use, but the zip tie seems to work just fine, and it works out just great. That bird is fairly vacuum sealed, very safe, will be good in your freezer for a year. Well, folks, I hope you've learned a lot today. I want to give you a couple more tips and tricks for processing your chickens that we've learned over the years. This is what we call the dirty half, and this is what we call the clean half. So, with your dirty half, you want to keep it wet. You want to keep water on it. You might not be working out here in cool conditions and rainy conditions. You might be working out in the hot, hot sun, and what you want to do is keep that thing wet. So keep that rack wet, keep everything that might get blood on it wet. Run about that much water down in the bottom of your buckets, and they'll be easier easier to clean when you get done. I promise you. The cleanup time will be cut more than in half if you keep this stuff clean as you go along. Now, on the clean half, we have a 3-bay sink. Cold water, colder water, and iced water. You want to cool the birds down, move them to cooler water. So you take them from about 85 degrees to about 70 degrees to about 40 degrees, and then you put them in the freezer. If you put them in the freezer when they're 80 or 70 degrees, you're going to overload your freezer and you're going to thaw everything out in your freezer. So you got to think about this stuff. If you're doing 3 or 4 birds, you don't really have to worry about it, but you do need a big tub of ice to put all this stuff in. If you're interested in any of this equipment, there'll be links down in the video description if you guys want to pick up a plucker for yourself. If you're a local guy and you want to rent this stuff out, go to stonyridgefarmer.com and shoot me an email. If you have any questions or comments, please post them down there in the comments section. Also, go to stonyridgefarmer.com and we'll keep you posted on what day the class will be for 2020. And you can come here, you can participate, and you can take home a chicken or 2. So come on back and see us here on the Stony Ridge Farm, guys. I hope you learned a little bit. We had a good time, and I got to get busy. Got to help Dad. We got more work to do. We'll see you next time on the Stony Ridge. All right? Woo!
Well, come on down to the Stony Ridge, bring your wife.